So welcome. Thank you for coming, everyone. My name is Aska Hisa, and I am the Director of Learning and Engagement here at ICALA. And this is our first POV tour of the season, and we're so happy to have it with our artist Carmen Amengual to give us her perspectives on the work of Sandra Vásquez de la Horra and the exhibition The Awake Volcanoes, which is a survey of works on paper by de la Horra spanning 40 years. In the show, you'll see the artist's exploration of such themes as the body, and the physical, psychological, and political landscapes, and even the mystical. The show originated from the Denver Art Museum out of the mind and heart of curator Rafael Fonseca, and we're so happy to bring it here to Los Angeles, giving Sandra Vásquez de la Horra her first museum show in our city. The POV tour series is an opportunity to roam through the exhibition with an artist. A discourse results from their choice of works, ideas, and techniques, or whatever they want. And how we do that is first we get to know the artist. We begin with a presentation by our guest, and then we shall proceed into the galleries. We've provided these souvenir handouts that include the biography, the more full biography of Carmen Amengual. We tend to not read biographies fully here. We love that she's from Argentina, Buenos Aires, and we love that she's a multidisciplinary artist, filmmaker, and independent researcher whose practice draws on fragile archives, micro-histories, and oral narratives that investigate how stories of resistance circulate and transform over time. It is poetic, poignant, and necessary storytelling. We hope to see tonight some wonderful exchange, and that everyone will find sources of inspiration from the work of both Carmen Amengual and Sandra Vásquez de la Horra. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Aska. And thank you everyone here at ICALA for the invitation and the hospitality. So nice to see so many friendly faces. It makes me really happy, and I'm honored to be here. I wrote my presentation, and I'm sometimes, I never know if it's better just to improvise, but I will follow the presentation and then divert when I feel like doing that. So I'm Carmen Amengual. I'm from Argentina, as Aska said, and I work primarily in installation and film installations that include sculptures, drawing, paintings, and archival research. I'm deeply grateful to have been invited to think through this exhibition. Although Sandra Vásquez de la Horra and I come from different countries, I am from Argentina, and I have lived abroad for a decade, while Sandra is from Chile and has been living in Germany for the past 30 years. Her work allows me to reflect on a shared worldview, an elusive and yet resonant identity, that of being from South America, that I don't often get to share here. Her work also gives me an opportunity to locate my own sense of belonging and displacement within her luminous, complex world. So my own practice often explores the post-memory of historical events, how trauma and exile persist in the imagination. I work with an archive, a personal archive of letters that one belonged to my mother, reconstructing the collective body of a generation fractured by dictatorship, disappearance, and forced exile. I've been producing work about this correspondence of my mother's friends in the early 70s, discussing political upheavals in Latin America and elsewhere, and how they impacted their everyday lives, current politics of the time, and their hopes for the future. I have explored during my practice different ways and strategies to animate these archives and ways to give texture again to these voices and bring their relevance to the present. So let me show you a little bit. I'm going to move quickly to here. I have created this animation of a set of teapots that they represent a group of friends in the year 1973. In a moment of critical upheavals in the southern cone, specifically the piece starts with the return of Perón from exile. It follows with the coup in Chile in September 1973, and it ends with the aftermath of that, with this interesting character that I discovered in my mom's letter. So I will show you a little excerpt of this video so you can see what I try to do. I'm just going to play a little excerpt of this so you can see how I've been trying to work. Now it may be a little bit too loud, ¿no? Okay.
Buenos Aires, 15 de mayo de 1974. Mi querida Malena, al fin esta larga carta tuya. Pienso a menudo en vos, en todo lo que vivimos en París y en esas charlas tremendas que tuvimos. Por supuesto, no por eso de que todo tiempo pasado fue mejor, ya que tengo el recuerdo de estar en medio de una confusión abrumadora. Qué suerte que se dio vuelta la página y estamos, ahora yo en Buenos Aires y vos en Argel, empezando un nuevo capítulo. Después de un periodo bastante feliz acá, me empecé a descontrolar de vuelta y decidí comenzar psicoanálisis para ver si consigo comprender lo que me pasa. ¿Me está haciendo bien? Sin embargo, creo que es muy importante no olvidarse de considerar la dimensión política de uno, es decir, la realidad y las relaciones que uno puede tener con esta. Pensar la clase a la cual uno pertenece y que usa como referencia, y las relaciones que con ella se tiene. Dilucidar quién es uno socialmente, para quién trabaja y qué hace en esta sociedad. Lo que no consigo es resolver cómo levantar un proyecto distinto del que me metieron en la cabeza. Este modelito heredado de lo que se tiene que ser y hacer en el mundo. Si no prestas atención y dejas que te domine, te lleva a hacer cosas que te arruinan la posibilidad auténtica de la vida.
Just to give an example. I will continue now with the slides. So as you can see, this was installed in 3 vertical monitors. And I also created this poster with a lot of words because I always feel that I have to explain so much here in the US about the history of South America. Other work that I have done also inspiring these letters are this installation of sculptures with sentences and words from the world of my mother. And then my most recent work, a Non-Coincidental Mirror, also emerges from these archives and follows the organization of the first and second Third World Filmmakers Meetings in Algiers and in Buenos Aires, a series of encounters between filmmakers of the so-called Third World. I mean, they use that term themselves, that serve as a hub for political filmmakers from Latin America, many of them persecuted in their country and forced to exiles, with filmmakers from Africa and the Arab world. For this project, I have traveled to Buenos Aires, Paris, and Algiers to remap this history of cultural solidarity and artists organizing against censorship and political persecution, topics that sadly are becoming more and more relevant today. I filmed the places where this event took place in 16mm to exercise the analog imagination that was part of the film culture at the time for independent filmmakers. My project is taking shape as an installation and a film research, and its first iteration was presented in New York earlier this year. And I hope I will be able to present it here in Los Angeles sometime soon. Part of the issues I deal with in my work is how to talk about these serious events, preserving a space for poetic language, play, humor, and also preserving the gap, how to preserve the absences, the stories that are only half told, how to preserve the uncertainty regarding the inherited stories from the past, as I try to assemble by imagination a collective body that preceded me, a body fractured by dictatorship, migration, and silence. I know that I can only speculate, imagining an effective texture to archives that are always partial. So here's the installation. For this, I created these displays, these tables that follow architectural motifs from Buenos Aires and from places in Algiers that are relevant for this story. And you can see here it's a heavily research-based project, but it has been really magical to go through this process of reconstructing this encounter of filmmakers that was really like erased from history. This is some of my final works that it's in the making. Is an experimentation about the rhetorics of language and politics at this time. So I'm always trying to find experimental ways of dealing with the archive and of dealing with these stories and histories of resistance that diverge a little bit with the sort of official histories or official narratives that that are perhaps more documentarian or more based in a totalizing narrative that can fill all the gaps. So growing up in the aftermath of Argentina's military regime, my consciousness was shaped by the questions surrounding the bodies of the disappeared. Where were they taken? How were they killed? Where were their remains disposed of? Absorbed into nature, drowned in the Rio de la Plata, dissolved into the ocean. What happened to the children of the murdered mothers? And what have become of those forced into exiles? These unanswered questions remain open wounds in the collective body in Argentina. And in all of South America has gone through this, but each country of the region has gone through different processes of repair, justice, and memories. There are different politics of memories, and Argentina was really at the avant-garde at some point, in the sense that Most of the military of the junta were brought into trial, and the Madres de Plaza de Mayo and the equipe of forensic anthropology have been able to locate a lot of these remains. But this has been, I was born in the end of the dictatorship, so my coming of age has been the beginning of democracy, but grappling with all the aftermath, the economic catastrophe that has followed the politics of the dictatorships, and really the building of this collective memory. And that certainly was something that was reactivated when I moved here, and I found myself in a place that even if the US has had been such an important character in this history by backing up the dictatorships, there's so little known about this or about what it means. So I felt that I came here to be drawn back to my past in some way, or it gave me the will of digging more into these stories. So it was perhaps this shared concern with the body, its fragmentation, its transfiguration, its persistence, that drove me so strongly to Vásquez de la Horra work. Her drawings are full of bodies, saintly, erotic, wounded, metamorphic. They are inscribed within larger system of beliefs and cosmology. You will see Catholic iconography, mythology, the unconscious, and yet they continually resist being absorbed by the system. Her work is allegorical but refuses allegory. It invites interpretation but resists closure. And I feel that her work is always, like she's always reworking and destabilizing these frameworks through her own alchemic imagination. So, let's see, okay. Looking at her drawings, one feels the pleasure of recognition, as if encountering secret references or fragments of stories half remembered. And yet the individual works remain elusive, multivalent, belonging to several symbolic and emotional registers at once. So I think that now we can move towards the gallery. Yeah. But I wrote a little introduction to this, and it says like this. The arts of inscription are always mineral arts. Drawing, writing, photography, and today even artificial intelligence are all grounded in material histories inseparable from extractivist technologies and colonial economies. Here's the graphite, there the cochineal pigment, elsewhere the silver, the copper, and lithium that sustain both artificial intelligence and so-called renewable energies. From all this, Sandra Vásquez de la Horra chooses perhaps the most modest of mediums, graphite drawings on paper, yet her practice continuously signals the mineral materiality of body and thought, a geological impulse, or more precisely, perhaps, a geological consciousness rooted in her upbringing in Chile. Chile is a long, narrow country stretched along the western edge of South America with more than 6,000 kilometers of Pacific coastline. The Andes, the world's longest continental mountain range, are home to countless volcanoes, actually like something like 2,000, of which, if I did my research correctly, around like 100 or more than 100 are active and others dormant. The ojos del salado, the eyes of the salty, being both the highest volcano and the highest peak in the Chilean Andes, the highest volcano in the world. Anyone who has stood in those landscapes know what I mean by a planetary feeling, an experience of scale so vast that life seems to petrify into matter. That sense of inhabiting a living geology, a territory where stone, fire, and ocean coexist, permeates Vásquez de la Horra art, sometimes acquiring a metaphysical quality and others adhering to a deep materiality. So maybe we can move into the exhibition space, and in thinking between the tensions and diversions between body and landscape that we can see in her work, the way that I sort of articulated the walkthrough is through thinking through the bodies, because most of the drawings consist on bodies. And I wanted to start by this cluster of smaller drawings. Please take a moment to look at them and absorb. And when I was preparing for this, I read that Sandra Vásquez de la Horra usually reconfigures the way that she shows these smaller drawings. And something that struck me from this is the different systems or fields of references that you can see in them. You can see a lot of Catholic iconography. For example, this drawing, La muerte de la ilusión, or the drawing of this sort of saint being. I know very little about Catholicism. I'm not a typical Latin American in that sense, but you can see here, you can see, where is over here? There's a San Antonio. Yes, Las Tentaciones de San Antonio, the Temptations of San Antonio. And close to this, you can also see other images that refer to, or the field of reference is more related to Santeria or religions. Yeah, that's La Carga de Lazarus. These are all like, and then you can see these ones that are more related to Santeria, like Santa Muerte, o El Adiós a los Trópicos. And at the same time, you have some works that are clearly where you can see the political body, or works that are clearly political. For example, this one, Las Malas Juntas, or Malas Juntas, where for someone that comes from South America, when you see this, you clearly see the image of Pinochet, the sort of iconic picture of Pinochet with the generals. At the same time, a la Junta, I happen to know, it's also the title of an Argentinian tango that was written in the 20s by Julio De Caro, which is a very playful song, and that it mostly refers, it's a musical piece, but it refers to having a bad group of friends that take you to the bad path, you know, of the path of vice. So this struck me because in some way is not showing like the reference to Pinochet, but at the same time is sort of bringing some humor into something very serious. And here we also have El Pueblo Unido Jamás Será Vencido, which is the song of battle and protest in Latin America. The people united won't be defeated. So I was struck to see how the field of referentiality is always sort of oscillating into something very serious and something very humorous. And by knowing, for example, this one, I also wanted to point to this, the ex voto. So the ex voto with the breast with milk, which from anyone who has gone through the experience of having to breastfeed a kid knows. Can also, the ex votos are in Mexican tradition, is the, some drawings that people who have been granted a wish will do in appreciation to the saint that wish was conceived. But at the same time, when I was seeing this, it made me also think of the figure of Santa Agata, which is this Sicilian saint that it was tortured for her faith and her breasts were cut. So normally she's depicted as a saint with the her breast in a tray. So I think that there is this multivalency happening all the time with Christianity, Santeria, humor, also maybe some images of the Spanish Baroque, perhaps, with the calaveras, with the skull, and the idea of time fleeting away, like this one. You can also see some words in German, some words in English, some words in Spanish, and something that I was thinking is that in the experience of migration, of being an immigrant in another place and really losing your field of reference. So it's something that it related, I could relate to this idea that the new friends that you make, the people that you meet, don't know where you're coming from, don't know the stories or the culture you're bringing with you. So you're always misunderstood in some ways. A skull doesn't mean the same thing for someone who's from Germany to someone that is from Mexico, for example. And something that struck me is how the La Horra seems to be very at ease with not being fully understood. Very much at ease with not. It seems like these are illustrations of a private narrative. For me, I always felt very anxious of not being completely understood. I would really like all of my friends to come with me to Argentina and know exactly and live a little bit my life with me there so they could know exactly where I'm coming from. And I think that in that way, these drawings also create a home for all the meanings and significance in exile. So, yeah, I was very interested in the way they compose this language. I think that this is also related to the candomblé imagery that is this syncretic religion, Afro-Brazilian religion that Sandra actually was initiated into and she professes. Yeah, please, let's have a dialogue, make questions, and of course for me, obviously, because many of these works have the titles or the text in Spanish, for me the drawings are anchored in those texts, but also at the same time they are not, you know, there's a resistance. To that, and some drawings are like very elaborate and really, really personal, I will say. So in some way, the artist seems to say here that all the other bodies that somehow in other areas we can see a little bit more separated, all these experiences of the body, they go together. It's not, we are political beings, we are beings of desire, we are beings of imagination. I think that we can think of some groupings that are also not obvious in the installation, and I think that the installation sort of also resists the idea of a linear reading. But I was thinking of the works that are highly political for me when I see El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. We have again that sentence. And here we can see what it was interesting to me was seeing this tension between the fragment and the individual and the collective. Both this body that is struggling but is dismembered, is losing parts, it's tied together with a lot of fragility, I would say. And of course, when I saw the date of when this work was made, I know it was in 2019, it was a moment of huge civic unrest in Chile. Huge civic unrest that the police repressed with major cruelty. It's actually like a lot of protesters, student protesters. So this protest started when the government tried to raise the fare of the buses. And it led to a massive protest of students, and something like 300 students lost one eye because the police was throwing rubber bullets through the eyes of people. So you can see so that, you know, this is also, I think, of how we who live in other places that are not our country of origin, how we feel when something terrible happens in your place of origin, and how, the impulse to respond and do something, but also the impotence of being very far away and not being able to be part of that massive event. So this piece over here, it's also made in, I think this one is from 2020. It says, "The people united will never be defeated." While these works are from 2015 or 14, so you can see that in some way the ways the works are installed, they put together this more mystic sort of, I was going to say aspiration, but it's not an aspiration. It's like this mystical narrative together with the narrative of building a society together or building a collective body that is one harmonic body, but here it doesn't seem to work very well. Another piece that relates for me to this narrative of the political, or maybe saying like literally political bodies, is this one.
which is "Y en este mar que tranquilo nos baña," which is a sentence from the national anthem of Chile, which means in this ocean or in this sea that calmly bathe us. And it's a very ambivalent drawing, I think, because you can see someone sort of like jumping into the water, but it's also being burned. And in that geometric structure also makes me think of like medieval torture in some way. Huh?
Like a sacrifice.
Like a sacrifice, yeah. Yeah. That, yeah. Yeah, that too. Then I thought that we can also think, of course, of the. Let me see, because I have. Well, I was thinking also about the technique of drawing and how visual artists, we tend to have a very well-trained sort of like morphological imagination or sort of analogical imagination. We see things that resemble formally and we can think or imagine relationships even if they are very far. And I love when themes that's why I love survey exhibitions and retrospectives, is because you can see these themes that are recurrent in an artist and how we as artists tend to be like obsessed with certain things and so attached to certain concepts. So I love the way these works are installed because this is from 2023 and this is from 1997. And I love how thinking through the body and sort of the personification of the body and enchanting of the material body leads to thinking through the openness of the body. So from a very material sort of perspective, a more cosmological and idea of the body as a medium and a medium that can open or be open towards different dimensions emerges through time. So here are also the drawings from the 90s, but you can see that they are not, they don't try to be sort of objective studies. You have like here little faces that emerge and an idea of an Homo sapiens emerging from a chili pepper or a vegetable, I don't know. Or thought about a body that can be two things at the same time, a body that can be female and male at the same time. So there are other drawings that refer to a body that is two, that like an hermaphrodite, I think it's over there. And a body that can be two and two bodies that can be one. So that's a tension that we always we see. So this is another part. And I think that, and please, feel free to say your thoughts because I'm hearing my own voice resonating in this space. I think that we can see this movement from biography toward a more metaphysical thinking and
what the experiences of giving birth, lactating, can also sort of, I was thinking that she tries to give words to something that patriarchal language and imaginary doesn't have a word for, which is this idea that you can be two at once, and this idea that the body can be a dimension to something completely unknown. So I was seeing how, like, from motherhood, perhaps there starts, and not from motherhood per se, but I think that what I want to emphasize is that it's not, like a bourgeois figure of motherhood, but it's really a sort of geological, material, and I don't want to say violent, but highly transfigurative experience or transformational experience that then leads to also the awareness of the body being opening up. So I was observing all these sections of the body that opens up to a new dimension. And I think that she emphasized that with this little sort of rainbow that starts appearing in different parts of the body. It's like these tectonic plates of the body. We see the rainbow there. We see the rainbows here. And these bodies that are open up to the more like material, but also geological dimensions. Please.
You mentioned in your presentation too, like when unanswered questions become open wounds. I feel like that is resonating with what you have been saying of like dissecting the body. And the fluidity too of the energy,
Yeah.
I couldn't hear the question.
Yeah, I think that what is interesting is that perhaps with the traumas of the flowers uses the tropes of dissecting or of a very sort of rational, analytical thinking, but it's just a trope because in reality it's evolving into the openness of the body as something that it becomes a medium for a higher energy or an energy that is shared through the material world with the animals, the plants, the mountains, and the earth, and this idea, this emphasis on the volcano, like something that for me, when I think about volcans, metaphorically, I think about this idea of melting and disintegrating into like losing meaning, but then coming back to meaning, like petrifying into something. So, yeah, I think a lot of the works are about metamorphosis and going through experiences that can dissolve you, but also renovate you. Yeah, and I don't know much about candomblé or these more religious aspects, but what I know about it is that it's a religion that sort of states that there's an energy that goes through all. It's a polytheistic sort of religion that sometimes the orishas will manifest in you, but there's this energy that flows through everything, and it's a little bit like thinking of lava, that can manifest, and yeah. So it's a beautiful metaphor, the idea of the volcano, but also so real in Chile. I mean, like every time I fly to Argentina, I go through Chile, and you just see the Andes, and it's really like that, It's so alive and big and a little bit human. So I was thinking about also some of these drawings that sometimes they look petrified on one side, you know, and very alive and colorful on the other ones. And I was thinking of like being dead and alive at the same time, but in an intense material way, you know? Not as being half alive, but being aware of your materiality and your like bones, and that you're made, you know, from like same things that stones are made, and in keeping that awareness of death all the time, in a very spiritual way. So I think I should stop because.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, we love it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen.